lovely to have you here from Great British Talent. Super
Thanks
excited
for
to hear
having me.
about. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Very excited to hear how it's going in UK. How are you taking in speakers? And yeah, just get a feel of what's happening on the other side of the sea, especially since I'm based in Norway. So we can just,
What's the weather like
yeah,
in Norway? Is it nice?
it is what it is.
I was there last summer. It's beautiful.
So how did you get into the speaker market? You told me briefly you saw a demand for it. Can you just walk us through the moment?
Yeah. So I worked as a presenter and a voiceover artist for about 30 years, and I loved doing corporate presenting. So my business partner and I, Steve, we launched two companies, and well, two websites rather than companies for the speaking and voiceover market. And we just worked with people that I'd met over the 30 years, but we were targeting the corporate side of the market rather than broadcast. And we went to an exhibition and we exhibited as Great British Presenters, and we quickly just kept getting asked for speakers. So we thought, okay, well, maybe we need to do a speaker page on the presenter website. And then, when as a small business, you can evolve quite quickly, which is what we did. We just went away, researched it. I'd already had really good connections with a lot of the management companies in London through my career as a presenter. So it was easy to knock on doors and say, look, this is what we're doing. Can we put your talent on our website? And so it kind of went from there, really. We launched Great British Speakers alongside the Voices and the Presenter websites. And now we're under the umbrella of Great British Talent.
Cool. Now, since you've been there for many years, I guess like same as in Norway, you get like a lot of speakers who ask you, "Can you be my agent? Can we list on your site?" What's the main reason you usually say no? Like, when do you say no?
Well, that's something that my business partner takes care of. To be fair, I tend to be on the front end of the business and help grow the business, and Steve sort of makes sure everything is looking nice on the back end of the business. Everybody that I see that I want to be able to put forward to my clients, I will make contact with, and then I'll introduce them to Steve. But we do obviously get inundated with speaker requests, for representation. We always point out we're not a management company, we're a bureau. So we literally just will pitch them for the relevant inquiries. So the reason we would say no is because they just don't have the experience. They haven't been on the circuit. Lack of sort of good collateral. So some don't even have good headshots. They won't have a video. So all of these things can be done over time. They don't have to happen all at once. And also having suitable speaker topics that are in demand at our end. So there's no rhyme or reason to selecting. We're pretty flexible. We like working with nice people. So if you're nice, we like to work with you.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. You talk about like a topic that's in demand. So let's talk about the UK market specifically. Is it like some topics you see are very in demand right now? Like what is the corporate side requesting a lot?
Well, I've noticed over the last 18 months that the event days requests, the inquiries are coming down ever so slightly. Things like Black History Month, International Women's Day, mental health, whilst these are really still valuable topics, a lot of companies don't have the money to push behind those topics. So we now know that they still want to cover those topics, but they want an added value. They want some key takeaways. It's not just a story of resilience. It has to be something more than that. That the team that are listening to the talk can, take away, have a think about, and hopefully implement when they get back into work the next day. So I've seen a real decline in inquiries for those. And when they do come in, lower budgets. But what I have seen a rise in is AI. AI is proving to be popular. It was originally a few years ago just generic AI, what's coming, or what we're scared, what do we do? And now it tends to be a little bit more specific than that. So drill down by professions. Some corporations and clients will come and say, look, we're doing this a travel event. Do you have anybody specifically in that industry that can talk about AI? So that tends to be the way it's going. And then after that, leadership and direct disruption and change, all still really popular amongst our clients.
Yeah, I guess it's the same trend as in Norway. We see that and companies who hire speakers, first of all, they always check like, is it something we can cover internally before so the money sits a bit tighter sometimes. And also what are we left with? Like, is it going to be a story or is it some practical takeaways? So interesting to see. It's quite similar as the one what's happening in Norway. What would you say is the average speaker fee in UK? How much can a top speaker actually charge? What can beginner charge and up and coming? Like if you break it down to the segments, what's the rates now for 20?
So, how long is a piece of string? We work to all budgets, but to give speakers, because this is the angle that we're coming from, I suppose. If you're starting out, you need to be flexible on rates. You need to learn your trade. We always say to our clients that our speaker rates start between 3 to 5K. Obviously, when
Mhm.
you then go to globally respected speakers or speakers with a high profile, so people that you'd recognize from the TV, you're looking at 10, 20K and beyond. So you just have to be really flexible. But we do have a lot of clients who don't have high budgets, but we still want to try and help them where possible. So the more flexible you are on rates to start off with, the most important thing is that, really.
What would you recommend, like completely beginner speakers, like they're just starting out and they're planning
I do it
to,
for nothing. You've got to learn your trade in any industry. You have to start somewhere and,
yeah,
do it alongside your day job. It's not enough just to have a good story or have a great voice and be able to tell a story and story tell. It takes time. It doesn't come overnight. So you need to work hard. You need to get a really good talk, a talk that you can adapt really quickly to suit different businesses and their requirements and what they want. And go above and beyond, offer more. I would certainly suggest offering to hone your skills at schools and charities for very, very little money to start off with, and do
yeah.
it alongside everything else that you're doing.
Interesting. And like a lot of people who listen to this podcast are completely new, or they like just landed 3 or 4 gigs. Can you tell, like, as a bureau versus an agent, how do you work? So how does a client usually come to you? What are their requests? And then how are you then filtrating speakers in your speaker stack? Can you just explain how it actually works
So
behind the
yeah,
scenes?
I can explain how it works, but essentially it comes down to budget. So our clients come to us and say, look, we've got this event on this date in this location and we want a speaker. Sometimes it can be as vague as that. And so we go back and we extract more information from them in terms of who the audience is, what they're hoping to get out of the speaker in terms of content, what if they want any takeaways, if there's any topic specifically that they want. And of course, then we have to find out their budget. And actually, the great thing about, I worked as a presenter and a voiceover for so long, and you could never get a budget out of anyone. They just say, oh, no, what's your rate? With
Yeah.
clients for speaking, they always tend to know their budget. And if they don't, then you say, our rates start around this figure. Give us a guide of what you want. They're normally quite helpful. And then if you send a high value speaker and they just say that's way beyond what we want, then we go back and sort of say, okay, well, maybe we can still help you, but let us know what your maximum budget is and we'll see if we've got anybody to suit. So then once we know more about their requirements and their budget, we then send a short list of speakers from our website. So we send that across to them with a little bit of further information. And then they'll say, oh, we really like A, B, and C. And then we'll go to A, B, and C and check if they're available, check their rates, or if they will agree to work for this rate, if it's a low rate one. And then, they can say yay or nay, and we feed that back. And then we just get down. Sometimes they come back and say, we like these 10, and they take our advice on that.
Yeah.
So, that's how the process works. And then sometimes we offer pre-booking calls with the client. So if they're down to about 2 or 3 and they're undecided, then we offer that ability to do that, so they can help, find the best person that suits their needs.
Yeah, so if you're on the list of the 10 speakers, is it anything you can do to increase your chances? Is the good speaker real? What do you think the clients are looking for when they're deciding those or choosing one of those 10? Any advice
That
for the
stage,
speakers?
it could be anything. It could be down to how the decision maker is feeling that day. Sometimes you have no control over it. Sometimes it could be down to budget. Sometimes it could be down to, look, we've got a largely male audience. And we had male speakers for the last 3 events. So we now need a female speaker.
Yeah.
Or they may want diversity. So there is no rhyme or reason, but to help you get it across the line at that stage, you need the speaker, the bureau on side. So you need me on side. So you need to be really easy to work with and flexible.
Yeah.
Also, you just need maybe offer a little teaser video for the client, sort of say, I can do a teaser video. This is the client, this is the subject, and this is what they want. And you do a little 1 minute video on your phone and you just send that in. That's always a good idea.
Yeah, that's been working good for me too.
Yeah. So there are ways, and obviously agreeing to facilitate a pre-booking call always helps as well.
Yeah. And like in terms of videos, like a lot of speakers stress over the speaker reel. I see a lot of them make it too long, 5-6 minutes, when I think it should be shorter, 2 minutes. But in your view, what should a great reel always include? What answers should a speaker reel answer that somebody who's booking them might wonder?
Well, I think you're right on the duration. As I've worked as a presenter for so long, and, literally I know whenever my reel goes out, they're probably seeing at least 10 or 20. They're probably clicking through the first 30 seconds, and then filtering it. So your first 30 seconds to 45 seconds has to be really good.
Yeah.
So that goes without saying. It's lovely to have a all singing, all dancing, snazzy reel, but sometimes it's so full of movement and there's not enough talking. So you need to make sure there's a good chunk of your talk in that. So, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then break it up a little bit to show you in different locations, and then go back to another, so they can get a feel for how you deliver to the audience. So, and do different subjects, different parts of your talk. It's about mixing that, but you're absolutely right. I would say 2 minutes is all you need. And, you don't need to spend hundreds or thousands of pounds getting it edited in a snazzy way. There's so many, applications that you can use.
Yeah.
Again, it's just about learning your skill. And once you learn that, you learn the ability to edit, then you can create content, and content's really important as a speaker. You create your own, you snip it together, you add a bit of music over the top, and you can then use that on your channels, your social media channels.
And boom, it's out. It creates the trust and it really position you as an expert.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you're a fresh new speaker in UK, you don't have an agent, and you had a few free gigs, and you want to try to get maybe some internal breakfast events or speak at an internal conference, and you start to approach companies. What titles do usually the people have who book a speaker? Like if I want to get a breakfast seminar at Lloyds Bank in one of their branches, like is it HR, head of people culture?
It's the bane of my life. Normally in any industry, there's one person to go to inquire as to if there's any availability or requirements. But speaking and presenting, there's no one-stop shop, unfortunately, which makes it really laborious. So it could be HR, it could be an EA, a PA, it could be somebody in marketing, it could be somebody in events. It depends how big the company is. It's a quagmire. It's a real tricky one that you can't just buy a list and email everybody, because invariably it goes to the wrong people. So it's a bit of due diligence on your part to kind of find the right person, or target a local company. Like you say, that might be a really good place to start. So in the UK, we've got the Federation of Small Businesses. We've got the Institute of Directors. They're always looking for affordable speakers. Then you've got charities like the U3A, the University of the Third Age, and the Women's Institute, and Rotary clubs. So all of these companies, they would be easier to delve into, because they'll have local branches and you can contact those. So all in all, it's a bit of hard work. LinkedIn should be a good resource for that. Maybe target a company and look at their people and see which people could be looking for speakers. So events and marketing and HR.
Yeah. And I always recommend to maybe reach out to both on CC. It can be like the head of HR and PA of the executive assistant, because then they get the email and they start to talk about it. Like, hey, did you get that email? Like, is it relevant for us? Okay. And the last question we have then is like, how would you formulate like that first email? So let's say it's branch of Lloyds Bank or something, or a local business company. Like, how would you call the email in the first email, or on LinkedIn?
It's a tricky one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, because obviously we don't do that. So I'm not sure a lot of the bigger companies would be booking speakers direct unless they'd already heard from them via word of mouth. So a recommendation via another company. So I wouldn't necessarily think targeting large companies and corporations is the place to start. Once you're on the circuit, then you can afford to be a bit more savvy with that. But I do just generally think I would use LinkedIn rather than email personally.
Yeah.
I just feel that emails and emails are easy to delete. Not everybody is on LinkedIn constantly, but as long as you connect with them, then you've got a way in, you've got a way of connecting with them, and then you can find their email address and then contact them and say, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn if you need a speaker. But I suppose it's just keep it really short, bullet points as opposed to paragraphs, a short snappy video. You have to remember that people, particularly with the onset of social media, people have very little time when they're at their desk to look at these things. And then our attention span has also decreased because of, we're looking at short form content as opposed to long form. So yeah, everything needs to be short, concise, clear, and warm and friendly. And most of all, the most important thing to be is authentic. It's just, it's just, if it doesn't work out, just keep working hard, learning and honing your craft and getting that story right so that it resonates with the audience, and deliver it in front of everybody and ask them for their feedback. Don't be precious about feedback. And criticism. It's what's going to make you a better speaker.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us a really great insight of what's happening in UK, what's in demand, rates, etc. I really appreciate you about the openness and all the great advice. Thank you so much for coming to us. This was a really great conversation. I'm really grateful for it.
Thanks very much. It was lovely chatting to you, Max. And my little cat's just come out.
That's just too cute.
To say goodbye.
That's just too cute. All right. This was nice.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for joining this episode. It means a lot to me and my team. We put a lot of effort into creating all this content available to help people succeed as public speakers. So if you are a public speaker and you want more gigs, you want higher paid, or you just want to start out as a public speaker, join our community. It's a very cool place from people all across Europe who help each other to succeed as speakers. It's full of free resources, classes on how to master stage fright, to how to build amazing slides in Canva, to how to create an unforgettable quiz on stage. If you're very serious about public speaking, click below to check our 8-week speaker bootcamp. We're starting a new cohort each month. It's a very intensive live program where we gather up to 12 speakers who we work with closely. We help them with creating a website, speaker reel. I work with you one-on-one to create a unforgettable presentation, and we're having a lot of fun in the 8 weeks. So check the links below. And hey, if you like this episode, it means a lot to me if you can like it, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Cheers.